Welcome, Hickory Ridge. This intro music, man, I felt a little like I'm gonna shed my Mennonite ways aside and I'm gonna go dancing at church. I don't know what's going on here. No, but the truth is, I welcome you, and I actually feel like this music was a God thing because for some reason I came to church today with a lament in my heart. And it just tells me, first of all, however you are, however you're feeling, this is the place for you to be. If you're here with joy in your heart, if you're here with a need to grieve, you are welcome here. And especially if you are a new guest of ours, I just want to say welcome, welcome. I hope to see you Sunday after this, and I definitely hope to see you in the back of the church where you can sign a form saying who you are and get a gift from us. You can also do that online, but either way, let us know you're here. Let me let you know what's happening this morning. We're going to start with some worship time. Our worship band has been practicing. I'm excited about the music they have to bring with us. And then we're going to have some time of offering and some announcements, and then a sermon on, we're doing short books of the Bible. This is going to be one on Obadiah. After that, we'll have some more music and invitation, and it's just going to be a good service. So stand with me, and we're going to have a time of praise.
Silent, surely it was through. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? Friday's disappointment, the Sunday's empty too. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. Pentecostal fire, stirring something new. You're not gonna run out of miracles anytime soon. Oh, resurrection power runs in my veins too. I believe there's another miracle here in this room. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is a praise make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm We've seen what you can do, oh God of wonders. Your power has no end. The things you've done before, in greater measure, you will do again. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. And there's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. You've already won. Oh God of revival. You rose in victory, and now you're seated forever on the throne. So why should my heart fear what you've defeated? I will trust in you alone. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. And there's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. You've already won. Oh God of revival. Oh God of revival. Come awaken your people. Come awaken your cities. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people. Come awaken your cities. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. The darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh, God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. And there's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. All things are possible. Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest, and without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you.
Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me.
Where you are, and where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. So teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, and when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Teach my song. So teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way. When I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one this morning we do just acknowledge that we need you. God, whether we're going through hard times and we need your hand to hold on to, or God, whether things are going well and we need to remember where that blessing is coming from. God, I pray that you would help us to just understand how much we need you in every second of our lives. And God, we just acknowledge that. God, we give it to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
And you may be seated, and the ushers may come forward. We're going to continue our worship through giving of our tithes and offerings and those little baskets. You can use those to give. You can also give via text and online, safe and secure. That's actually the way I choose to give. It's to set up an automatic payment. It's something really important to me in my life to give those tithes and offerings. So I get to announce that today at 1 o'clock, we have an interest meeting. If you are thinking about going to Israel next year, and maybe this is the first time you've thought about it, but hey, it's still not too late. There's going to be an itinerary shared at that time, and the cost. So about what we're doing. It is going to be a fantastic time, possibly life-changing, I think, and just encourage you to check that meeting out at 1 today. Also, last week at 1, there was an interest meeting for two missions trips coming up next year to Thailand and Ghana. Also coincided with what I think was a flood here in the little town of Greenwood. So if that's your excuse for not coming, or if you have a less noble excuse and want to, say, yeah, it was the flood, that's the reason why I didn't show up. Just show up online. There's still a chance to do that. Go to Hickory Ridge online/events and fill out an interest form. And Jim and Normie Stutzman, our missions coordinators, will get back with you. You can get there through this QR code, which you can scan. Bring out your phone and just scan it right there, or in front of you on your seat, as well as many other events that you can check out at that place. All right, that's the announcements. And now it's time for our sermon by Pastor Justin on the book of Obadiah, which I read in about 3 minutes this morning. And I'm very excited because I think it's the first time I've ever heard a sermon on Obadiah. So with that said, let's turn our hearts toward the sermon.
Here goes. This match will get red hot. A brawl is surely brewing.
So if you didn't know, there are 5 books in the Bible that contain only one chapter, but those books, as the title of the series indicates, are small but powerful. And last week we kicked off this series. Kathleen Maurice kicked it off, and she looked at the book of 2 John, and she did an amazing job. And then next week, if you want to prepare yourself, we're going to be looking at the book of Philemon. It's in the New Testament, so it doesn't take long to read it. It's only one chapter, so take some time this week, read it, just soak in that a little bit, and be prepared to see what the Lord's going to reveal to you about that book next week. But today we're going to look at the only one of these 5 books that are found in the Old Testament. It's a book by the name of Obadiah, and it is a prophetic book. So let me give you a little background and understanding of what was happening culturally at that time, because it will help you to understand what it is and why it is that God sent this message through the prophet Obadiah. So we're going to give a quick, brief history of the people of Israel, starting with their deliverance from Egypt. They were in bondage and slavery to the Egyptians for about 400 years. At that point, God sent a great deliverer named Moses. Moses delivered the people. It was amazing. It was just, God worked through him in supernatural ways. And Moses led the people right to the edge of the promised land, right to the boundary of the promised land. And after Moses dies, the mantle of leadership is handed to a man named Joshua. Joshua leads the people into the promised land, and they begin to possess it. And they are established now as a nation and as a people. And for about 350 years, the people are led not by a king, but by judges. God is actually their king. And when the people stray, God raises up leaders, rulers, judges to help bring the people back. And so for about 350 years, that happens. But then the people cry out, we want a king. We want to look like everyone else. We want to be like everyone else. And in a sense, they don't want God to lead them. They want a human figure to lead them. So God says, fine, I'll give you a king. And he starts with a man named Saul. Saul is the first anointed king of Israel. And he's followed by the greatest king probably in Israel's history, a man named David. And David brings the kingdom together, and it's a great time. And then David's son follows him as a king, a man named Solomon, one of the wisest men who ever lived. So while David established them as a military nation, Solomon led them as an economic and just world power. In that entire region, kings and emissaries and rulers and queens from other nations would come. They wanted to see what Solomon was doing. They wanted to hear the wisdom that God gave him. It was a great, rich time in the nation, in the history of the nation of Israel. Really, David and Solomon's reigns can be considered the golden age for Israel. Then Solomon's son, Rehoboam, comes to the power. Solomon dies, Rehoboam follows, and Rehoboam is an unmitigated disaster of a leader. He won't change. He makes things harsh for the people, and as a result, civil war breaks out. And the kingdom, which his grandfather and father had worked so hard to bring together, is divided. And it's torn into two, really. There's a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. So the nation of Israel is kind of made up of 12 tribes or nation states. And 10 of them become known as the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom to the north. 2 of them stay true to the house and the lineage of David. It's the southern kingdom, is known as the kingdom of Judah. And now it just enters, the people of Israel enter this time, both kingdoms really, of a steady decline. Politically, morally, culturally, spiritually, they just begin to break down in every possible way. I mean, we can look at our culture today and say there's breakdowns morally and socially. It was the same back then. And so God would then begin to send to them prophets who would warn the people, if you don't change, if you don't come back to me, if you don't stop living morally depraved lives, if you don't begin to focus on worshiping me as the true God and not these false gods, if you don't lead the people politically well with integrity of heart, if culturally you don't love others, if you don't, if you're not kind to those who come into this nation, if you are backstabbing, if you don't make these changes, it's not going to go well with you. And prophet after prophet after prophet would warn the kings and the people, the kingdom to the north of Israel, the kingdom to the south of Judah. And by and large, the warnings of the prophets fell on deaf ears. Now, to be sure, there were moments when a king, a leader, a person would respond to the words of the prophet. But for the most part, over time, it just got worse and worse and worse. Until finally, in 722 BC, the kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom, is conquered by the Assyrians. They're carried off into captivity. About 140 years later, in 582 BC, the kingdom of Judah to the south is also conquered. They're not conquered by the Assyrians. At this point now, the main player on the political field are the Babylonians. So the Babylonians come in and they wipe out the southern kingdom. So much so that they march on the capital city of Jerusalem, the city of David, which represented, it symbolized the spiritual center of the people of Israel. It's where the great temple that Solomon built to God was housed. And the temple is destroyed. The city of Jerusalem is ransacked. And it's a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster for all the people of Israel. It's at this moment in history that God says, I have a word that I want to give through the prophet Obadiah. Jerusalem has been destroyed. The temple has been